Welcome everyone to another gripping episode of Space City X-Files, where the truth isn't just out there, it's right here, waiting to be uncovered. Today, we dive deep into a story that captured the hearts of millions, leaving not just a void in the world of entertainment, but a mystery that has puzzled fans and onlookers alike. The sudden and tragic passing of Bob Saget, the beloved comedian, actor, and cherished television dad, has sparked conversations, debates, and theories far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. Bob Saget, a name synonymous with laughter, warmth, and the quintessential image of the American father figure, thanks to his iconic role as Danny Tanner on Full House, met an untimely end that shocked the world. Known for his dual persona, America's dad on screen and a boundary-pushing comedian off-screen, Saget's death in January of 2022 sent ripples through the entertainment industry and among his legion of fans. But it wasn't just the loss of the man that caused the stir, it was the circumstances surrounding his death that lit the fuse of speculation and mystery. In a hotel room in Orlando, Florida, the comedian's story took an unexpected turn, one that would lead us down the path of inquiry, skepticism, and the search for truth. How did a man, seemingly in good health, at the peak of his comedic powers, meet such a sudden and mysterious end? Doesn't make any sense. Today, on Space City X-Files, we peel back the layers of this complex story, examining the life and legacy of Bob Saget, the events leading up to his tragic death, and the swirling vortex of theories that emerged in the aftermath. From the official reports to the whispers of conspiracy, we explore every angle, leaving no stone unturned in our quest for answers. Join us as we step into the shadows of doubt and illumination on this episode of Space City X-Files, number 43, The Mysterious Death of Bob Saget. Before we continue our investigation into the mysterious death of Mr. Saget, we'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to all our listeners. At Space City X-Files, we strive to provide the best possible experience by keeping our episodes free of commercials and ads. We rely on your support to help us grow and reach more people all over the world who share our passion for uncovering the mysteries of the great unknown that we live in. If you enjoyed today's episode, we kindly request that you take a few minutes to leave us a review on the platform you're listening on. If the platform does not allow for a written review, then a simple 5-star rating or a social media share would be equally as great. We thank you. Your feedback is invaluable in spreading awareness about the show and attracting those new listeners that we're looking for. Additionally, if you would like to make a monetary contribution, you can support the show by clicking on our Support Us tab on our website, or you can just scan the QR code at any time if you're listening on YouTube. All right? That'll take you directly to our donation page. Every penny we receive goes directly towards enhancing the quality of our content and furthering the dream of doing what we love to do full time. We appreciate your consideration and ongoing support. Your involvement ensures that we can continue to deliver thought-provoking episodes like today's over the passing of Bob Saget. Thank you very much for being a part of Space City X-Files, and we look forward to bringing you more captivating content in the future. This will conclude today's announcements. All right, got through the opening pretty quickly. Don't want to keep you too long in that stuff, so let's jump right into it. In today's episode of Space City X-Files, like we said, we're diving into the life and career of Bob Saget, a figure whose impact on American culture and comedy is undeniable at this point, right? Born on May 17, 1956 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Saget's journey into the world of entertainment was not just a career choice, but a calling for him. From an early age, he showed an affinity for making people laugh, a trait that would define his career and endear him to millions worldwide. Saget's entry into the spotlight came through stand-up comedy circuit, that was what he was first known for, and he used a unique blend of wholesome and edgy humor to quickly set him apart from the others that were working at the time. However, it was his role as Danny Tanner on the beloved sitcom Full House, which premiered in 1987, that really catapulted him into the hearts of the American public. As the widowed father of 3 daughters, Saget's portrayal was a comforting presence in living rooms across the nation, embodying values of family, love, humor in the face of life's challenges. But Bob Saget was a man of contrast. Off-screen, his stand-up comedy revealed a different side to his humor. Raunchier, edgier, unafraid to push the boundaries. Sometimes he said some pretty crazy shit, right? This duality fascinated audiences, showcasing his versatility and his depths as a performer. Beyond Full House, Saget's career was multifaceted. He lent his talents to hosting gigs, most notably America's Funniest Home Videos, where his witty commentary on everyday follies endeared him to a whole new audience, right? His voiceover work, directing endeavors, and stand-up comedic performances painted the picture of a man never content to rest his laurels and was always seeking new ways to express his creative vision. So despite his success, Saget's life was not without its tragedies. He faced personal losses that shaped his outlook in comedy, infusing his work with a sense of humanity and empathy that resonated with many, right? His commitment to charity work, particularly with the Scleroderma Research Foundation, was inspired by the loss of his sister, who he had lost. She passed away from the disease, and that was in hopes of demonstrating his willingness to turn personal pain into a force for positive action, right? So he tried to be proactive in things. As the years progressed, Saget continued to tour, perform, and appeared on various media platforms, showcasing his enduring appeal and relevance in the fast-evolving world of entertainment. His ability to connect with audiences, whether through laughter or shared human experiences, remained unmatched. And that span was vast, right? I mean, he started in the 80s, and he just seems like he was on TV, I mean, right up until he passed away. You know, Bob Saget's legacy is complex. It's a tapestry woven from the many roles he played both on and off the screen. To his fans, he was Danny Tanner, the quintessential TV dad. To others, he was a comedic genius whose material defied expectations. But to all, he was a figure whose warmth, humor, and resilience in the face of adversity left an undeniable mark on the world of entertainment and beyond. In the next segment, we'll explore the events leading up to the tragic end of the beloved figure, seeking to understand the circumstances that culminated in a mystery that continues to captivate and intrigue to this day. We'll be right back. In the hours and days leading up to his untimely passing, Bob Saget was doing what he loved the most. He was making people laugh. And his final performance took place on January 8th, 2022 at the Point Vedra Concert Hall in Point Vedra Beach, Florida. Right? It was part of his comedy tour that he was having that was spanning all across the United States. And his tour had been met with pretty good reviews from his fans. His critics didn't really, haters gonna hate. But overall, people wanted to see his show. He was selling tickets. Saget's energy and joy in performing were palpable. Those in attendance described him as being in high spirits, delivering a set that was both hilarious and heartwarming. After the show, he took to social media to express his gratitude, tweeting about the warmth of the audience and his love for the craft of stand-up comedy. Little did anyone know that these would be his final words to the public. And it was stated that before anything happened, he was down in the lobby of his hotel room, and he signed a few autographs. So he was in good spirits up until that point, as far as what we know. Following his performance, Saget returned to his hotel in Orlando, where he was staying during this leg of the tour. According to reports, there were no indications of anything amiss. Saget was alone, supposedly, and the evening proceeded like any other. He had another show scheduled the next day. There was no suggestion of distress or any hint, no depression. He was married at the time. He had a beautiful wife, beautiful family. So, the routine nature of the evening only really added to the shock of what was to follow. Okay. The following day, on January 9th, 2022, after Saget failed to check out from his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, so he was also unresponsive to attempts to try to contact them from the front desk and from his family. Finally, hotel security was asked to perform a wellness check. Right. It was then that they discovered Saget unresponsive in his room, lying in his bed. Emergency services were called, but sadly, Saget was pronounced dead at the scene. The immediate reaction was one of disbelief. Bob Saget, a 65-year-old, seemingly healthy man, full of life, performing stand-up comedy, had suddenly died without warning. And what really shocked and surprised a lot of people, what really started making people think was, there's kind of a stigma with stand-up comedians, and especially ones that have been in the spotlight their whole life. Depression sets in. Maybe they have a history with drugs, which I think Bob did, and there's like a little stigma of self-harm, revolving around these prominent figures, So that's what kind of sparked a lot of this mystery. The news of Saget's death, it spread quickly like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the entertainment community and among fans all around the world. Tributes poured in, mourning the loss of a man who had been a fixture in American comedy and television for decades. Me, myself, watching him from a kid, seeing him all my life on TV, from the 80s all the way until now. But as the initial wave of grief began to settle, questions arose about the circumstances of his death. How could someone as vibrant and active as Saget die so unexpectedly? Jesus, he was down in the lobby giving autographs. He goes to his room and somehow he dies. In the wake of his passing, authorities launched a thorough investigation, thorough with quotation marks, to determine the cause of death. The absence of any apparent health issues or external indications of what could have led to such a sudden death only deepened the mystery. As everyone awaited the results of the investigation, speculation and rumors, of course, began to swirl, filling the void left by the lack of information. In the next section, we'll dive into the details of Bob Saget's death as revealed by the subsequent investigations, shedding light on the tragic circumstances that led to the loss of this beloved icon. Hang on, we'll be right back. The sudden death of Bob Saget in his Orlando hotel room on January 9th, 2022, left many grappling for answers. The investigation into his passing was comprehensive, with authorities meticulously piecing together the final hours of his life in an effort to understand what had transpired. The world awaited, hoping for some clarity on how such a tragedy could have occurred. Initial reports from the scene indicated no signs of foul play or drug use, although this was met with skepticism. A fact later corroborated by the autopsy report, which was also met with skepticism. The room was orderly, with Saget's belongings neatly arranged, suggesting nothing out of the ordinary. Again, met with skepticism. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil that had unfolded upon the discovery of his passing. The Orange County Sheriff's Office and medical personnel responded to the scene, confirming the beloved comedian's death and setting the stage for a thorough medical examination to determine the cause. The autopsy was conducted by the Orange County Medical Examiner's Office, and it revealed that Bob Saget had died from blunt head trauma to the back of the skull. Specifically, the report indicated that he had suffered multiple fractures, again, to the back of the skull. He had brain bleeds, and they say that it was injuries consistent with a significant impact to the head. Now, this surprisingly, there were no external injuries visible, right? So, and this kind of suggested that the trauma was sustained in a way that didn't break the skin or cause other injuries commonly associated with falls or violent impacts. This is now all I'm reading you is what they said. All right, so don't worry if you're already familiar with the case and you know what's up. Don't worry, we're gonna get into that. But right now, I'm just reading you what the official statement was. Okay, so I know this is all iffy, but I'm just reading you what they said. The medical examiner concluded that the injuries were most likely the result of an accidental fall. Okay. Saget may have struck his head on a hard surface, such as a piece of furniture or a bathroom fixture, and then, not realizing the severity of his injuries, he laid down and went to sleep. The lack of immediate medical attention to what turned out to be life-threatening injuries was the tragic aspect of Saget's death, highlighting the sometimes hidden dangers of head trauma. Right. The official cause of death was listed as accidental, with the report noting that there was no evidence of substance abuse or foul play, so he was clean, no drugs, nobody was in the room. The conclusion brought some closure to those seeking answers, but it also underscored the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of accidents, right? The fact that Saget had performed energetically at a comedy show just hours before his death made the circumstances all the more poignant. Bob Saget's family released a statement expressing their grief and shock, while also thanking the fans and the friends for their outpouring of support. They emphasized the accidental nature of Saget's death and requested privacy as they mourned their loss. The entertainment community and fans worldwide echoed this sentiment, sharing memories of Saget's kindness, humor, and the joy he brought to so many lives. In the wake of the official findings, attention turned to the broader implications of Saget's death, including discussions on the importance of recognizing and promptly addressing head injuries. Right? You hit your head, don't just put it off. Don't think that, it's nothing. I know it's easy to do it because I've done it myself. Hit your head, shake it off, whatever, especially if you play sports. If you play sports, that's something that's really important, But as often happens in the face of celebrity tragedies, speculation and alternative theories began to emerge, seeking to fill the gaps left by unanswered questions. So what we're going to do is in the next section, we'll explore the conspiracies and rumors that surrounded Bob Saget's death, reflecting on the human tendency to search for meaning in the midst of loss and uncertainty. Hang on, we'll be right back with the conspiracy portion. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Space City X-Files. So now that we've pretty much familiarized ourselves with the background and the events of Bob Saget's untimely demise, now let's look into the conspiracy surrounding his sudden death. And man, there's quite a few. Now, I'd just like to say that much of the conspiracies, they kind of came because of the way the family responded to the situation, right? So the public wanted answers. Like, what the hell just happened? Like, he was fine one night, he's dead now. What's going on? What are the facts of this case? Well, how was the room? So the police and the family kind of worked together immediately to kind of suppress how much information was leaked. And this is what really made people say, what the hell's going on? And I know that that's not fair. A family should be able to have their privacy. It's screwed up, yes, I'll admit to that. But hey, when your entire career is in the public eye and you're on TV, I'm sorry, what do you expect? You're not going to get the privacy that Joe Schmo would get. You know what I mean? So then again, you gotta expect that. And you know how Hollywood is, and sometimes when people become more famous after they passed away than they were when they were alive, just depending on who it was. And so in March of 2022, surprisingly, the family petitioned the courts in Florida to permanently seal the records of all photos, all videos of the crime scene, all death records, and they won. Now, this caused many to wonder, why seal the records? If it was simply a slip and fall, accidental death, why do that? And so you can see that sprung a lot of theories, and that's the reason why we're doing this case right now. And that brings us to our next point also. The details of the death, the details of the death were possibly more than what they appeared. All right? So doing some investigation, doing some sleuthing on the internet, I came across something interesting, and so I'm trying to search forums. I'm trying to find some articles and stuff that could account for the extent of Bob's injuries, and I couldn't find much, right? There was tons of topics on, trying to debunk certain things. It seemed like it was more about debunking than explaining what happened, because I don't believe people really knew what happened. There wasn't a lot to go on. There was one pretty good article. It was from Reddit. And so before you roll your eyes, the OP included a link from a WebMD article that doctor was talking about the injuries of Bob Saget. Now, in the article, the doctor spoke about some of the injuries. Broken orbital bones on both sides of the face, a fractured skull in the back of the head, Now, he compared these injuries to something like the attack from a baseball bat or from a fall from a 3-story window. Definitely not something that could be caused by a single slip and fall backwards. Slip on something in the shower or something, or in the bathroom, fall back and hit your head. Definitely not nothing like that. And definitely not something that can be brushed off as no big deal. If you fell and bashed your head in like this, you would not be saying, oh, damn, I better go lay down. No, you would know that you weren't right after the if you had injuries like Bob did, you would know this shit is serious, right? The official report says that the official report says that he died in his sleep lying in his bed, but according to the doctor in the article, there would be no way that you would just peacefully fall asleep like that. Now, if he passed out, that's a different story. But how would he make it back to his bed? If he didn't pass out, it's a fact that the pain would be too much for you to just sit there and bear, right? Even if you were like stubborn enough to not call a doctor, and some people are. I don't need a doctor. Screw that. You would still need something. You would need some kind of pain meds to null the pain out. Either he had some on him, or he would have had to call the front desk. But you figure he would say something, right? Even if he had some kind of medication on him, it's far-fetched to think that, if you just pop a couple of ibuprofens, that was going to make it tolerable. No, that wouldn't happen. And plus, fractures in the skull, brain bleeding, there would have been blood somewhere, and he would have been vomiting all over everything, because once you hit your head like that, you're going to start getting nauseous. You're going to start throwing up. But the report doesn't mention anything of that, and that's probably because they wanted to keep their privacy, or it could have been for other reasons. And so you have to wonder, based on this, what this guy found in his article, or what he said in his article, what the hell really happened that night, right? What really happened? Oh, and one last thing before we move on to our next point. If you want to view the WebMD article for yourself, you're going to have to take the URL. I'm going to put the URL in the show notes, but you're going to have to take it. I'd advise you just to go to like Wayback Machine or something. Paste the URL address in there, and then look it up and go to the 2022 article, because as of today, that article is no longer online. So when I was on Reddit and I was looking through it, started clicking on the link, and it took me to a WebMD article about head injuries. Completely changed. There was nothing there. I was like, well, fuck, the guy put the wrong link in there. And I started thinking, no, what if somebody changed it? So I took the link, went to Wayback Machine, typed it in, and sure enough, there it is, the original article. And the guy's just going through like everything that he thought. It's a very interesting read. I recommend that you check it out. But yeah, so it's not online anymore though. That's not weird, right? Anyways, so moving on. Here's another theory. So before Bob passed away, he made it clear that he was suffering from long COVID. He had it once. It was kicking his ass. He never really healed. Never really got better, right? So he says. And leading up to that incident, he had been letting people know that he was not feeling himself. He was sick, right? And whenever they did the autopsy, he did indeed test positive for COVID. Strange part is that right before the comedy tour, he took another booster shot, right, for the COVID vaccine. This was a few weeks before his gig in Florida, right? So he takes his booster shot, and then boom, next thing you know, he's dead. And so we all know where this is going, right? We all know there's been a lot of controversy about the jabs, especially since people started admitting its link to the rise in myocarditis cases, and since especially since the shots had rolled out, right, in young people and old alike, right? And so one of the things they did release about the crime scene was that when they found Bob, his right hand was over his heart. He was laying there deceased with his hand over his heart. So, with that being said, is it possible that Bob fell victim to the shot, and the sealing of the records and the rush to close the case was an attempt to keep the true cause on the low? I don't know. Crazier things have happened, right? I feel like we're kind of jammed on this one because of the sealing of the records, which we know was on purpose, right? We know that the family just didn't want that. They didn't want it out there, and so it's their wishes, right? We got to respect that, but we'll never really know truly what happened because of that. For our last theory, after just searching around online, seeing what people felt, reading the discussion boards and watching videos, we've seen that many suspect that foul play was involved, right? And when we look at the scenarios of how the foul play, of what they say or what happened or how it happened, there's two ways, two scenarios that people use in the foul play theory, right? Now, so the first goes like this. All right, so I don't know if you're a fan of Bob's comedy or not. Maybe you just watched him on TV, didn't really like his stand-up. But if you heard Bob's stand-up comedy before, then you know he made his living off of being scandalous, right? Saying some pretty sick shit, right, during his stand-up bits. But only in his stand-up, though. On TV, he was like a completely different person. He was the wholesome TV dad that everyone wanted, right? Never got mad. Always understanding, always used his words to talk things out. And it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Stand up, though, it was completely something else. And many wondered if the jokes that he told in his stand up ever translated into his personal life. I'm not going to post any links because I don't really find them entertaining, but if you take a quick search on YouTube, you'll see that during his stand up, he includes a lot of incest and pedophilia talk in his comedy. It's very gross. I personally never, like I said, I never seen the appeal of his style. Some people did. No one I know ever, growing up, or none of my friends ever came to me and were like, "Hey man, you need to check out this Bob Saget stand-up bit. It's hilarious." Right? This never happened. Right? In fact, after I just doing the research for this show, I did watch, I think it's aristocrat bit. I don't find it funny at all, and really, I kind of wonder about the people who do find that kind of funny. It's fucking weird, right? It's you got to be scandalous, and I guess bad attention is, or some people say bad attention or good attention, whatever attention, any kind of attention is good, right? When you're trying to be in showbiz. But anyways, I just didn't find it really funny. But so one of his bits, the scenario goes, this plays into how he was possibly met with foul play. So the first case goes, he was partaking in some of the pedophile activities that he was doing his stand-up comedies about, right? And so he was living that life, in other words. And either he was set up, or perhaps the family member of a victim found out. They followed him to his room and killed him. And now, I don't know Bob personally. I'm not saying that these accusations are true, but this is just what's out there this is one of the popular opinions. And so I have to include it so you know that, right? Because we want to know all the information. We just don't want to know, we don't want to sugarcoat this, right? This is out there. It's possible. People say it's possible that he was a pedophile, and it's possible that he was killed for it, right? And it's possible that his stand-up was him putting his shit out on blast, right? This is what I do, but disguising it as, it's just a comedy show, right? Anyways, and so like I said, I don't know him personally, but this is just what's out there. In all, it's not fair. Again, it's not fair. But in all honesty, though, if you make a living, if this is what you do, this is how you become popular. You make a living off of racy content. Don't be surprised if someone associates you with it, right? If you're associated, if your comedy is about filthy shit, don't be surprised when somebody paints you with that brush, right? So there's that. The second scenario is that Bob was the victim of the celebrity sacrifice theory. And so check this out. 3 months before Bob passed away, he was doing an episode on his podcast with his wife. And while they were talking about life with each other and how their marriage was going and how they met, all this good stuff, they were having a good conversation. He blurts out of nowhere that he doesn't have much longer to live. It's kind of weird the way he brought it up. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes for this too so you can watch it. But they continue talking, and he goes even further when he starts saying how he's going to die. And he just blurts out again, the way I'm going to die is you're going to find me dead in my bed one day unresponsive. And his wife, the way she replies, it's kind of like, she doesn't really like look into the camera. She just kind of looks off like side eye. And she just says like, you better watch out. Like watch your back or some shit. I don't know. It was an eerie video. And like I said, I'm going to put it in the show notes so you can watch it for yourself because I can't do it justice. You need to see this. But the video was really like Matthew Perry-esque, who was also suspected to be a victim of celebrity sacrifices. But honestly, the world's never going to know the truth because of the records being permanently sealed. If some way we can get a leak or they dial it back the family may dial it back to try to put this to rest, or really to let people see like, hey, let us, check it out. And some people are going to be saying, I know they're going to be crying, but hurt. Like, you don't have any right to be knowing about the family. Man, shut the fuck up. This is public shit, right? People want to know this. If you don't want it out there, if you try to hide it, then you're inviting it in. I mean, this guy was he was one of the most loved TV dads in history. People are going to want to know, sleuthers are going to want to sleuth. So, I'm not hating on you, but that's just the way it is, right? I'm a realist. And so where we're at right now, these are the theories surrounding Bob's death, right? Good, bad, they both have their connotations, but this is where we're at. And so now that we know this, we're going to move on to our final segment. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, friends, to Space City X-Files. This is our final segment where I divulge what I think happened in the case. In this case, the mysterious sudden death of comedic legend and TV personality Bob Saget. And this one, I got to say here, it was difficult to judge. And as I mentioned many times, the main reason it's difficult to judge is because the records were sealed off from the public. And because it was done so quickly. That was very odd. It was very odd that it happened that way. And it's very odd because the police were kind of working to keep things hushed too from the beginning, right? Normally there's a statement put out right away. This didn't happen in this case, right? It took a few days actually before anybody got anything back. And because of this, I'm going to say that this case was not, I feel like it wasn't an accident, right? I believe that there was something more. It likely involved foul play or something embarrassing. And for that reason, the family didn't want anything to get out about it. Bob had amassed a pretty considerable amount of wealth before he died. It was estimated to be around $50 million. He did have a will, thankfully, and his family's taking care of. His daughters are going to be okay. But anyways, because of this, because of his wealth and because of the way it was kind of rushed to be silenced, I believe that it was more likely a orchestrated hit, or it was either a celebrity sacrifice, kind of similar to what happened to Matthew Perry, or he was partaking in something that he shouldn't have been dealing with, and he got the wrath because of it. But again, there's no way to know for sure. In this crazy world of celebrity madness, it could really be either of the three, But I choose to believe that it was not just a slip and fall accident, right? That's my opinion. If you have a difference of opinion, or you would like to share what you think on the matter, maybe you've got some different research, then feel free to reach out to us on social media or by email. and you can send that email to info@spacecityxfiles.com. I'd be glad to hear what you think. Thank you again for joining us. And at the conclusion of the show, if you wouldn't mind just leaving us a short written review on how much you enjoyed today's topic, that would help us out so much in finding those new listeners and getting more reviews and more impressions and topic searches and all that good stuff. If the platform you're listening from doesn't allow for a written review, then a 5-star rating would be great. Or if you can't do that, you can pop over to our social media pages, anyone, Truth Social, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that shit. You can go to either one of those pages and just find your favorite episode and hit share, right? That would be equally as great and helpful. We appreciate you doing that. Thank you again so much for listening. Please join us next week. We're going to shift gears on a new, different topic. It's going to be over the CIA-funded Project Stargate, right? This is a whole shit, basically a whole CIA-funded project on the exploration of consciousness of the mind and the mysterious nature that comes along with it, right? You don't want to miss this episode because many will agree who know about this topic that it reveals much about the true strength that humans have inside ourselves and the power of the mind, right? So, you don't want to miss that one. Please join us next week. Until we meet again, this is Rick on behalf of the Space City X-Files telling you to keep questioning, keep listening, and keep exploring, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Space City X-Files. Goodbye.